Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the inauguration ceremony of Dr. Nancy S. Niemi as the 17th president of Framingham State University. Today marks a new chapter in the proud history of our institution, and we are honored to have you all here to witness and celebrate this momentous occasion. My name is Ann McDonald, and I have the honor of serving as Chief of Staff and General Counsel at Framingham State University. To begin, at this time, I'll ask you all to take a moment to silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. And if you're not already standing, if you're able, please rise for the national anthem sung by our very own Haley Gerard, Framingham State University, class of 2025.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Haley. Beautiful. Hard to believe that I've known her since she was 5. I can't imagine this moment back then. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the many honored guests who've joined us for this joyous occasion, including Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, our elected officials at the state and local level, and the delegates from our fellow colleges and universities across the Commonwealth. We are so thrilled to have you all here today to celebrate with us. A special thank you to our students, faculty, and staff. You make Framingham State such a wonderful place to live, work, and learn. To bring greetings from Framingham State University Board of Trustees, I would ask Kevin Foley, Chair of the Board, to join me at the podium.
Thank you, Ann, and good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending today. It's a great honor as both a trustee and a proud graduate of Framingham State to welcome all of you to today's ceremony. As we gather to inaugurate our next leader, we are reminded of the vital role that higher education plays in shaping the future of our society. Our founder, Horace Mann, viewed education as a universal right and society's great equalizer. When he established Framingham State as the nation's first public normal school in 1839, he envisioned a college that is suitable for the richest and available to the poorest citizen of Massachusetts. Today, we continue to strive to live up to that ideal. Nancy Niemi is a dynamic educator, a nationally recognized scholar, and a leader who has spent her entire career committed to social equity through education. She is unafraid to take on big challenges and passionate about helping students reach their potential. I'm grateful to the other members of the Presidential Search Committee for the hard work and dedication that you did as far as in selecting our new president. I know I speak for the entire Board of Trustees when I say that it has been a pleasure working with Nancy and learning from her over this past year. She's already begun to make her mark on Framingham State University, and we all feel very excited about the future of this wonderful institution with President Niemi guiding us forward. Once again, I welcome you and thank you for joining us on this historic occasion. Ian?
Thank you, Kevin. Now I'd like to invite up our undergraduate student speaker, Rafa El-Khoury, Vice President of the Student Government Association and member of the class of 2024. Rafi, where are you, Rafi?
Hello, everyone. Greetings, President Niemi, faculty, students, staff, university delegates, and honored guests. My name is Rafi El-Khoury. When I arrived here in fall of 2020, personal safety was a higher concern than personal connection. Despite that, I met a kid named Mark who roped me into joining something called Student Government Association. In high school, I had never stepped up. But here, I was being given an opportunity to serve in something bigger than myself. I took that shot, and 3 years later, I stand before you a different person. In part, my transformation was because of my peers, for being role models, for being inclusive, and for making this place alive, giving it soul. The impact we have is bigger than it seems. When I walk down State Street or up to Hemingway, I give waves and I see smiles, because we're a family here. And with that, I want to welcome Dr. Niemi to this family. I had the pleasure of making chocolate chip cookies with Dr. Niemi at FSU Cook's Mix and Bake earlier this week. The week before that, Dr. Niemi read a bingo game right here for FSAB's event. In her time here so far, her presence in the community has been felt. You can find her on State Street talking to students, or basically anywhere on campus, walking and talking. I recall meeting with Dr. Niemi soon after she joined us, and being assured that as a student, I was heard and supported. Dr. Niemi came to FSU ready to be a part of the community, and we welcome her here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. Our next speaker is our graduate student speaker, who I've fortunately had the privilege of knowing since I arrived at Framingham 5 years ago. Her name is Olivia Mange Nandongo, who earned her undergraduate degree in chemistry from Framingham in 2019 and is now currently pursuing her master's degree in biotechnology. Olivia.
Thank you, Anne, for that warm welcome. Greetings, President Niemi, faculty, students, staff, university delegates, and honored guests. Again, my name is Olivia Mange Nandongo, and I'm so honored to be here at this historic occasion to share with you a little bit about myself. I am an international student originally from Equatorial Guinea, which is a small country in Central Africa, but I've lived in Massachusetts since I came to Framingham State in 2015. I graduated with my bachelor's in chemistry in 2019 and was able to use my talents after my degree for a few years at working at a few premier biotech companies here in Cambridge. And so when it came time to pursue my master's, coming back to Framingham State was an easy choice, looking back at all of the involvement that I took pride in, from being a black and gold orientation leader to a peer mentor and supplemental instruction leader. And as soon as I applied, submitted my deposit, it was back like I had never left. And with all of this in mind, I felt prepared enough to come back and pursue my master's here as well. And coming back, there were a lot of changes given the time that had passed, but I was also confident that, and I think that that's what makes the university so special, is that we're able to hold to the values that we have such as community, inclusion, growth, and learning, while staying dynamic and always welcoming new members. And I'm so thankful to be able to welcome President Niemi to our dynamic family. I've gotten to interact with her a few times, and I am confident that she embodies all of the values of Framingham State, and I'm glad to welcome her to our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia, and we're so glad you're in our family, as we say. Our next speaker is David Baldwin, who is Framingham State's Director of Human Resources. David.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning, students, staff, faculty, Board of Trustees, and distinguished guests. And I'd be remiss not to do this. Hi, Mom. She's live streaming right now. If this is your first visit to our beautiful campus, welcome. And if it's a return visit, welcome back. Today is a special day as we inaugurate Framingham State University's 17th president, Dr. Nancy Niemi. It is an honor to stand before you and offer words on behalf of the staff. Put a few 80s music videos in an email, and this is what you get here. Two encounters I had with Dr. Niemi early on in her tenure made it very surprising to me that I was asked to be up here. First, and what was probably, I think, her very first day here on campus, I was about to have lunch and I didn't have a fork. I know, strange. So I came upstairs to Ann's office, and if you haven't seen her office, it's the outer office in her office, and she has a little conference room. And Ann was sitting in the conference room, and I thought she was just working at that table there. And instead of coming up normally as I do, and I say, "Dearest Ann, would you have a fork you could spare so that I might have a meal today?" I actually went in and said, "Ann, fork! I need a fork!" And as I got closer and into the office, I saw that President Niemi was sitting at the table as well. And that was only like her first or second day. And then a few months later, I thought I'd follow that up. Again in Ann's office. I was sitting there. It was a Friday. I had like jeans and a hoodie on, and Ann was in jeans, and we were just chatting, whatever. And Dr. Niemi comes into the office, of course, dressed to the nines. She had a nice dress and a blouse and a nice scarf, black and gold scarf on. And I sat there slouched in my chair, and I said, "Well, I feel underdressed." Of which she started to apologize to me. "I'm so sorry, it's fine. I wish I was dressed like you are, David." So you'll see when you'll see my surprise when she came down to Human Resources one day and was like, "Do you have a couple of minutes?" And I thought, well, this is how my tenure ends at Framingham State University. But despite those things, here I stand before you. I stand here as a proud Framingham State University employee. Let me repeat, I stand here as a proud Framingham State University employee. I sincerely hope that my fellow Rams are as well. Having been here 23 years, I can honestly say I've seen some things, I've said some things, I've done some things. But there are many memories. I remember standing in my office when I heard about the Twin Towers. I was in my office when I was notified about 3 of my 4 godchildren's births, because why have them when you can rent them? I was in my office when my mom called to tell me my grandmother passed. I've attended and been a part of countless weddings of former students. I've grown and matured as a professional. I've met and had wonderful, sorrowful, hysterical, and special moments with people who have been a part of the fabric of campus, past and present. Since we spend a good portion of our lives at work, so much time is spent at work, so many milestones occur in this space right here. I say this to give you, not to give you a "this is your life" moment. It's more of a showcase how FSU has been a part of the major events in my life, and I'm sure many of your lives as well. When these things occur, we share them with colleagues, friends, and work spouses. Being an employee at FSU is being part of a community. We get to know folks around campus no matter what building we work from. I know that if I need assistance with a project, an eating utensil, or even something personal, there are numerous people I can turn to, and that is part of the magic of working at Framingham State University. We are all here with an overarching and steadfast goal of helping students achieve success. Each of our jobs helps the student in some way, from maintainers providing a clean environment for them to live and learn, to clerical staff who assist with making appointments and answering frontline questions, to administrators making decisions to make it possible for a student to succeed. But all of this starts with good leadership at the top, with the president. Over the past 10 months, I've watched Dr. Niemi interact with students, faculty, and staff in a warm and gracious manner, taking the time to learn someone's name, remembering little things they might have said and recalling it later on, remembering things from an email, things of that nature. Those are the little things that make an impression on folks. She is leading by example, and I challenge us to follow that lead. Take a few minutes when speaking with a student to learn about them. You don't have to become their biographer, but showing an interest helps calm a nervous, agitated student. A simple "where are you from?" or "how was class today?" can go a long way. Try never to lose sight of the fact that everything we do and just about every decision we make while working has an impact on students and their quest for success. When making a big decision, stop and think, how will this impact the student experience? The more colleagues you know and cultivate a relationship with around campus, the better you can help a student. Relationship building is key to offering the wraparound services that some of our students require. When a student approaches an employee about an issue, rarely is it one thing. It is usually more complex and may include things like food or housing insecurity, anxiety, or academic stress. Be the person who doesn't ignore or say, "that's not my area," but help by referring them to the Dean of Students' office or the Counseling Center, the CASA, or their faculty member to assist. Anything that impedes their success as a student should be addressed completely and swiftly with compassion and grace. It is our duty to assist the whole student. That may mean referring them to someone else with the expertise to assist, which includes making the introduction, giving the gist of the situation, and then following up with the student to see how it was resolved. With a lowering number of high school students, fear of insurmountable debt, and fierce competition from an area densely populated with high-profile colleges and universities, it is incumbent upon all of us, no matter the position we hold, to offer each current and potential student the assistance necessary for their success. This does not mean sacrificing academic rigor or integrity, or sacrificing consistent policy enforcement, or just telling the student a hard truth. Compassion and explanation are essential to understanding. And I tell you this because I was reminded of a story from years ago back in my associate dean days. A student came to my office. I was on my way to a meeting. I was rushing out, had my jacket on. I was going across campus, and the student comes in, tall student, about 6'2", and he's like, "I need to talk to you." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'm on my way to a meeting right now. Let's set up a time. You come and talk to me, but walk with me while I go to this meeting." "Sure." "Okay." We walk, we set the time up, we walk to the meeting, and he tells me, "I need help. Academically, I'm not doing well. I transferred here, and I need help. I don't know what to do." And I was like, "Okay." And I've seen you around campus, and people have told me that I should talk to you. And I was like, "Okay." Good luck with that. And he came the next day, and we talked, and he's like, he was from New York, and he was worried about his family. He wanted to be a good example for his little brothers that he had, and he just wasn't getting it done. And he had been here for like a year and a half, and he knows he should be done this next semester, but he had another year to go. So I needed some guidance. So I said, "Okay, you need to do these things." He had some stuff with financial aid. I got him to the right person there, student accounts there, and and he kept coming to see me. He would come every week and see me. But the academic part he wasn't getting. And he kept coming, and I said, "Have you been to CASA to set up your appointment with CASA?" No, I haven't." And every week I'd say, "Have you been to CASA?" And then finally, after 3 weeks, I said, "Okay, look, you came here to me. I didn't find you. You came and sought me out for assistance. I'm giving you the assistance, and you're not taking the steps to make it happen." I said, "So I have my degree. You want your degree. I'm telling you what you need to know, you need to do it. And he had kind of had a tear in his eye, and he left, and I thought, well, I'll never see him again. But he came back the next week and had done what I asked him to do. And he had started doing the things that we talked about, so having that hard conversation was very important for him. And he graduated like a year and a half later, and was so excited. I was at commencement, of course. His family was there. He was very excited and introduced me to his mother and his brothers and things of that night, and it was great. And I tell you that, it reminded me of that because I heard from him recently, and he's doing well. He's teaching somewhere and doing fabulous things. But this story is to remind you how when we work together with student accounts, financial aid, and whoever else I needed to work with for the student, when we work together with the cooperation of the student, of course, which doesn't always happen, we can help them achieve the ultimate goal of graduation when we work together as a community, listen and respect one another, and keep student success at the forefront. There are few obstacles we can't overcome as an institution. I believe that Dr. Niemi has a vision of where FSU needs to be in the future and how to get there. I believe Dr. Niemi has the compassion and integrity to get us there in a way that is inclusive and transparent. I believe Dr. Niemi is excited and energized by the potential of FSU and what may develop. And as she shared with us in her introductory video, the future is extraordinary. Let's go. And I, for one, can't wait to see what heights she will take us. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and do know that I've replenished my cutlery in my office, so anytime you need a fork, come on up. To bring greetings on behalf of Framingham State University's faculty is Professor Marari El-Koro, Vice President of the Framingham State Chapter of the Massachusetts State College Association. Marari.
Good morning. Welcome. It is my pleasure to speak at President Niemi's inauguration. I have had the honor to work with President Niemi shortly after she was selected to be our president. Last spring, she was very involved and supportive during our provost search when I served as chair. Over the last year, we have worked together in my position of director and vice president of our faculty and librarian union. In her first year, President Niemi supported the Fair Share Amendment. She signed a letter to Governor Healy along with the Council of Presidents advocating for a fair cost of living increase for our community of faculty, librarians, staff, and administrators. It has been great to work with a president who understands and works with our university unions to better the university. Shared governance is at the center of our university life, and we are thrilled to have someone who will continue this tradition at Framingham State. So now I'm here as a faculty member, and I invite you to travel back in time with me to December 2021, when Dr. Niemi was interviewing for the position of president here at Framingham State. She was asked, why president of a university? Why now, when there are so many challenges? Her answer was centered on her love for education, on her sense of how education is a means to generate equity, and that she wants to do this with people who care, and that now is the best time to do it and when it's most needed. She added, I love faculty. I am faculty. For many of us, this was music to our ears. It was exciting to welcome such a strong advocate to the essence of a university. As Bell Hooks wrote, the classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. I remember well that in one of my meetings with President Niemi, I told her how much I loved this quote, and she enthusiastically agreed with me. I thought, yes, we have a president who will unite us as a forward-thinking institution. As President Niemi connects so clearly with bell hooks, I will use what I have learned from both of them and from my faculty colleagues to review what it means to be a faculty member here at Framingham State University. Here is some of what connects us all to the value of the classroom as a radical space of possibility. Our faculty are the heart of the university, the center, the core. And as the heart is the strong and adaptable organ, it doesn't operate in isolation. It does its work well and efficiently as part of a healthy system. We care. We engage in scholarship and creative work, advising students, engaging in service to the university and the community, assuming leadership positions. But what matters the most is the work that we do in the classroom. Our faculty are vulnerable human beings. We are not a homogeneous, uniform group. We feel the stresses and shifting responsibilities and expectations that come with a dynamic and fast-changing job. The classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. Our faculty are dedicated. We make education accessible to all of our students. Such dedication propels unimaginable levels of creativity to pursue learning and knowledge and to renew our ways of working. Our faculty are a community of teachers, scholars, and artists whose scholarly and creative work challenges the status quo and contributes to improving education and racial and social justice. The classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. Our faculty view students as teachers. Just like there are teachers who inspire us, we learn from our students every day. We engage in this bi-directional, dynamic, hard, and reciprocal nature of teaching and learning. Our faculty are highly committed to our community. President Niemi's commitment to leadership grounded in collaboration, compassion, empathy, and her willingness to consider new ways of moving forward is exciting. Our faculty are eager to work together towards inclusive, equitable, and progressive education. Our faculty are strong, persistent, fragile, vulnerable. All of these qualities are united in the faculty. The classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. Her leadership and ours that views vulnerability as strength and that cultivates a culture of care and radical inquiry will guide our community to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Marari. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Kristen Esterberg, Chancellor of the University of Washington, Bothell, and a presidential colleague and mentor of President Niemi. Dr. Esterberg.
Thank you, and good morning. I couldn't be more honored to be giving this inaugural speech today in my own home state at an institution sister to one I had the privilege of serving some years ago, and so thrilled to be honoring my friend and an extraordinary leader, President Nancy Niemi. What a joyous day, both for the campus and for President Niemi. Now, it's often struck me that an inauguration ceremony is a little bit like a wedding ceremony, bringing together and bonding a leader in their institution. Now, in place of white gowns and tuxedos, or other traditional forms of wedding attire, we deck ourselves in another form of academic long dress, academic regalia. I could also point the parade down the aisle, the procession, the speeches. You get the general picture. It might not be a perfect metaphor, but there are more than a few similarities. And I would say that when properly matched, the relationship of leader and their institution should endure and flourish for the betterment of all, if not perhaps till death do us part, and preferably not till death do us part, but certainly through difficult times and calmer ones, through good times and bad, through thick and through thin, though I might say that in my experience, leading regional public comprehensive institutions, we have way more thin than thick. But even in the midst of adversity or thin times, there is joy, there is growth, and there is excellent service to our students and our communities. And this is exactly what today exemplifies: the extraordinary impact that institutions like Framingham State University have on our communities, and the ways in which good leadership helps institutions flourish. So however we might characterize it, an inauguration marks a turning point in an institution's history and their trajectory. So in addition to welcoming a new leader, an inauguration also marks the beginning of a new chapter for the institution. And so I would like to reflect a bit on what it means to be a leader in these fraught times. Why does presidential leadership matter? And so deeply and so critically. What are the challenges that any president must face? And in this particular time, almost but not quite post-pandemic, a time of rising and deepening inequality, a period in which we as a society must fully reckon with the legacies of racism and inequity, and in this era of intense cultural division, leaders in higher education are faced with particularly thorny challenges. So good leadership matters. And it matters because when higher ed leaders do our jobs well, our students are well prepared to engage with their communities. They are prepared to be informed and active participants in our democracy. They are prepared for the world of work, as you clearly were. And they are prepared to think critically and thoughtfully and competently, and dare I say compassionately, about the world around us and the hairy challenges we face. Now, mostly today, I would actually like to talk about my good friend and colleague, an exceptional leader, Dr. Nancy Niemi, and why President Niemi is eminently suited to lead this extraordinary institution, Framingham State University, at this particular moment in time. Now, presidents are charged with setting a strategic vision for their campuses, so they must ask, how can we best steer our intellectual communities toward greater equity, joining with the marvelous faculty? How can we ensure that our regional public comprehensive universities serve brilliantly those we are charged with serving? How can we put our students, our amazing students, at the center? How can we absorb the lessons from the pandemic, not just about how students learn and will continue to learn in the future, but how will work be structured in the future? How can we stretch scarce resources to ensure the things that matter most are funded? And how can we nurture a campus environment of lively intellectual debate? How can we ensure that our institutions of higher learning adapt and remain relevant not only today, but in the decades and even centuries to come? And what qualities must good leaders have? Compassion, intelligence, wit, a sharp sense of history, heart, humility, flexibility, and firmness, and a firm ethical and moral compass. And so I ask, why is Nancy Niemi so eminently suited to lead? She began her own career as a teacher in Horseheads, New York, and after receiving her PhD in education, spent the greatest part of her career in the classroom. She understands deeply the importance and impact of education for individual lives. She has extraordinary breadth of institutional experience, ranging from small private institutions to elite to a public HBCU, and now to Framingham State, the kind of institution that focuses on educating the new majority. Nancy's own academic work has focused on issues of equity. Her magnificent book, which I recommend you read strongly, Degrees of Difference, Women, Men, and the Value of Higher Education, asks the question, why hasn't women's education translated into true equality in the labor force. She strives toward inclusion and equity. A few of her accomplishments include leading the Student Success Equity Intensive and the Black Male Teacher Initiative at University of Maryland, Eastern Shores. And so when I think about Framingham's own history and trajectory, its founding in 1839 as the first public normal school, very early on, Framingham focused on providing an education for women, including women of color. I think of Framingham's path-breaking graduates, Olivia Davidson, co-founder of the Tuskegee Institute, Krista McAuliffe. In its early years, Framingham State focused on teacher preparation and then moved outward, developing into a true regional comprehensive, and in this way, serving this community well. Framingham has a long history of training women leaders and embracing women's leadership. All of this leads me to believe quite firmly that this institution and this leader are well matched. So I'd like to close with some exhortations. To Nancy, let the needs and priorities of your students, your amazing, beautiful, talented students, be your priorities. Let a vision of justice, fairness, and equity guide your actions on behalf of your institution. Let a spirit of abundance help you through lean times, for surely there will be those. And let the joy of today carry you through difficult times, for surely there will be those. Now, to all who are here today witnessing this ceremony, I ask of you, help this leader grow and thrive. Help her cultivate a campus in which dialogue, evidence, critical inquiry remain a hallmark. Help her create an environment in which all students thrive, and help her ensure that all on campus feel valued, welcomed, and included. I might add, and may they all have a fork. Help her make her institution stronger, more robust. Help her lead with courage and vision and moral compass. Please be her partners, her appreciative critics, and her supports. For Framingham will be much, much stronger for your collective efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Esterberg. At this time, I'd like to invite Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Kristen Porter-Utley, and Board of Trustees Chairman Kevin Foley up to the podium to present the symbols of the office of the President to President Niemi. The symbols include the University Mace and the ceremonial chain of office. And I have no idea where they are, so I'm just being honest there. See, somebody knew. They'd put him there.
This is heavy.
Here.
We are honored to be joined today by Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. And at this time, I'd like to invite Lieutenant Governor Driscoll to the stage to say a few words prior to the administering the oath of office to President Niemi. Lieutenant Governor.
I think so, right? Good morning, everyone. What a feel-good Friday. I want to thank members of the Framingham State University for welcoming me here today, Chair Foley from the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, students, and of course, President Niemi and the administrative team. It really gives me a great privilege and great honor to be here, and certainly to be joined by members of the state legislature who are here. We're so pleased that Senate President Spilka, who not only presides over the entire Senate, we're in her district right now. Senate President Spilka has joined us. A tireless champion for public education. Representative Kate Donahue is here, along with Representative David Linsky, Senator Jake Oliveira, and I know we've got some locals in the House because town-gown relations are very important. I saw Mayor Sisitsky here as well. Mayor, great to have you here and knowing the importance of this institution in our Commonwealth and in our communities. It's terrific to be able to join you all. It's a special day in Framingham. As we know, Framingham State was founded as the nation's first public university for educating teachers. That's a deeply meaningful legacy. And now it will be led by a woman who herself is an experienced teacher of teachers. It's really a perfect time to build on this legacy and reimagine the role and impact of public higher education today, and frankly, how we deliver public education at all levels. A commitment enshrined in the Massachusetts Constitution. I know how life-changing a campus like Framingham State can be. I'm a proud graduate of Massachusetts State University System, Salem State. I'm wearing non-Viking colors today and asking for dispensation. And I'm standing here in this role because a public university gave me the education and the opportunities that I didn't even imagine or realize at the time. Today, public higher education has never been more critical to our Commonwealth and, frankly, our nation's future. At a time when every industry has become part of the knowledge economy, and at a time when our democratic values are under attack, often through weaponized misinformation, our state colleges and universities provide inclusive, equitable, democratic access to allow the students who are here to gain the skills and the critical thinking necessary to support both economic mobility and civic empowerment. And why public higher ed? Well, those of us who value public higher ed know that here in Massachusetts, 75% of the graduates from our public universities, they stay in Massachusetts. Our future teachers and nurses and business owners and entrepreneurs and lieutenant governors. That's why, as part of a new administration, I think we're in day 116, we're committed to making sure that our campuses are accessible to all residents, especially to the students and communities who need them most. The current proposed budget in our fiscal year has historic funding increases for our public higher ed institutions. 23% increase. Yeah. It's a 23% increase, or $371 million. We're not just talking about valuing public higher ed. We're really trying to demonstrate that. And just a point of reference, when I attended Salem State University, you actually could hustle all summer, work hard, and make enough money to pay for what it was going to cost you to go to school the next day. That's no longer the case. The costs have risen, and our commitment to public higher ed needs to rise with it. The funding that we put in this budget is critical, and it's really going to support students, supporting campuses, supporting wraparound services. And we know that so many of our students who are in our public higher ed institutions, they do face barriers of income and equity and deserve all of our support. And today, certainly we're thrilled to honor a leader who knows how to turn those resources into real opportunities for students who will be attending Framingham State. Dr. Niemi, or shall I say President Niemi, your distinguished academic career has focused on ensuring equity in the experience of students and educators. Your leadership has made positive change from local school boards to university faculties to an administration of an HBCU. Each of those roles and institutions have been better served by your contribution, often lifting up opportunities for those too often not at the table. Already, your commitment to equity and excellence for all students here at Framingham State is evident. You have the soul of an educator and the track record of a leader. You have the passion and the vision to lead this campus into the future. On behalf of Governor Healy, myself, and our entire administration, I want to thank you for your commitment to the students of Framingham State University and to the students of our Commonwealth. I wish you the very best as you formally launch your presidency. And it's now my honor to ask you to join me a few feet closer as we administer the oath of office. Dr. Niemi, your appointment as president, having been recommended by the Framingham State University Board of Trustees and approved by the Department of Higher Education of the Commonwealth, is before us, and I ask that you take the oath of office by raising your right hand and repeating after me. I, Nancy Niemi, do solemnly swear
I, Nancy Niemi, do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof.
that I will bear true faith and witness. No, give me more.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
I, Nancy Niemi, do solemnly swear and affirm
I, Nancy Niemi, do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me as president of Framingham State University,
all the duties incumbent upon me as president of Framingham State University,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the rules and regulations of the Constitution of the laws and the laws of this Commonwealth,
according to the rules and
regulations of the Constitution
of the Constitution
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
I, Nancy Niemi,
I, Nancy Niemi,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations, President Niemi.
Thank you.
We got through it.
Thank you for working with me.
Wow. Whew. If the academics of medieval Europe could see me now, see all of us now sporting our velvet robes and fancy hats, they'd probably say, "Why are you still wearing those things? We only wore them to keep warm." But I am so glad we continue this tradition because it honors the ongoing significance of our work and the significance of the work of learning. Our regalia reminds us that we are engaged in something important, not self-important, but important for our world. So let us now take a bow. Let us all take a bow. Let us celebrate this endeavor we call education. It is, I believe, the most powerful activity humans undertake. And if you're here today, you are demonstrating and celebrating your love for this endeavor, and I hope my commitment to it. Because you are here, in whatever capacity you are related to Framingham State University, you are adding a verse to the extraordinary song of this institution. 184 years of reformers, leaders, thinkers, and dreamers have offered stanzas, melodic lines, and bass notes to the composition of our institution, and you are now among them. There are so many who have contributed to this event and to my place in it, for whom I have deep and boundless gratitude, and I need to thank them. My executive assistant, Katie Hebert, who's out here somewhere, and the Inauguration Committee. None of what you experience here today would have happened without Katie and her team's leadership and determination to make the best things happen. Katie, you are a dream of a colleague, and I would not function as president nearly as well without you by my side. My Framingham State University executive team members, like a family, we are composed of longtime FSU members and brand new ones. I look at you and I am so honored and so proud to be your colleague, to share your wisdom, to your dedication, and your belief in what we want to accomplish. And by the way, you are a lot of fun. And they have forks. Our trustees, you give your time, your intelligence, and more importantly, your passion for service to our community and our Commonwealth. Your dedication to our student success is evident in everything you do. Our alumni, you invested your faith in our ability to help you get what you needed to grow and learn, and now we are harnessing that trust you placed in us to give the current generation of students the same. My presidential predecessors, including Dr. Helen Heineman, 14th president of this university and the first woman, who continues to share her love of FSU through her teaching and support. The faculty members of FSU, your service to our students, demonstrated through your commitment to teaching and all-encompassing advising, is evident in our graduates' lives. Your pursuit of disciplines that drive your inquiry, evident in the work you publish and the arts you create, energizes and defines our campus. My FSU staff, no leader could ask for a more devoted staff. Your work makes our campus. It is evident in the coaching, tutoring, career support, food service, gorgeous buildings, support of our employees. You make FSU unique and extraordinary. Our FSU students, of course, you are the reason we are here. We believe in you and your futures, and without you, FSU is just a bunch of buildings. My parents, Richard and Shirley Niemi, I cannot begin to express the depth of my thanks and gratitude for all you have contributed. Dad, by your example, I learned that if I could harness my passion for making positive change to an ironclad work ethic, anything was possible. Mom, by example, you made sure I knew that love needed to be the center of that work. My siblings, Patty Niemi, Jen McLaren, and Julie Wolfe, you keep me laughing and humble. You keep me simultaneously sane and insane. And you love me even when it seems like all I do is work at a job where we wear funny robes. My children, Anna, Nathaniel, Anna, my world turns because you're in it. The pride and love I have for you bursts from all of my being. I love experiencing the world through you, watching you take the privileges you were born with to make the world a better place. I also wanted each of you to have a special someone to sit with at the proverbial lunch table, and each of you have found spouses, Rose, Amy, and Alex, whom I would have picked as my own children, such is their wonder. They also have a grandchild, which is pretty cool. My husband, Michael Morris. Where did I find you? Actually, it was in a faculty meeting. You have accompanied me for the past decade with passion, honesty, and above all, humor. It is more love personified than I ever thought possible. It is also an excellent benefit for FSU that you gently and lovingly set me straight when I just might occasionally lose my perspective. I love you. My friends, from the dark nights of the soul to, well, the podium, you have been with me. You are here now, and we are part of each other, and I love you. My past colleagues, from each of the institutions of higher education I have called home, Nazareth College, the University of New Haven, Yale University, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. You emerged as colleagues who became friends. It was so hard to leave you, but we did not really part. Many of you are here today, and all of you are part of my spirit, for I could not be here without the gifts of advice, learning, friendship, and joy that you have offered me. And here we are now, celebrating all that is public higher education. Public higher education, the kind that is the work of Framingham State University, educates almost 50% of all students seeking bachelor's degrees in the United States. And almost 40% of these students are first-generation students. Schools like FSU, regional public institutions, educate 58% of Black students attending four-year colleges. We and our sister institutions enroll 35% of Asian American students, 47% of American Indian or Native Alaskan students, 39% of Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander students, 44% of Hispanic or Latinx students, and 44% of multiracial students. Even if measured by access to higher education alone, public higher education has been a raging success in helping create more educational equity in our country. However, we know that success in higher education is so much more of an achievement of a degree. The reason why public higher education has succeeded is because it made learning about the world, knowledge of the world, and questions concerning the world available to so many who have been previously denied this opportunity, largely because they were not considered wealthy enough, white enough, or smart enough. Learning through public education is a public, not a private good. Public higher education has helped millions of people in the United States learn the beauty of balancing a chemical equation, the eloquence that emerges from creating a forceful argument, the reality-changing perspective that comes from hearing Arabic spoken for the first time, the mind-blowing role that food systems play in world cultures, the tears that cannot help but form when you see Act 3 of Thornton Wilder's Our Town. It helped most of those same learners find employment using the skills, the perspectives, and the knowledge they gained, weaving what they have learned into lives all their own. Right now, we hear the roiling accusations. There is little return on investment in public education. Employers don't actually need workers with degrees. College doesn't teach students anything anyway, or it teaches the wrong things. Why is this narrative so strong? I believe that higher education, particularly public higher education, is being challenged because it has succeeded. It has succeeded in allowing people who are working class and middle class, first generation, brown, black, and BIPOC to learn. It has delivered on its promise to make that acquisition of knowledge, skills, and diverse perspectives a public good. And having these skills, appreciating multiple and varied perspectives, formulating provocative questions, and gaining knowledge cannot return to the province of the privileged. We cannot let the current zeitgeist drive the idea that we really don't need college to succeed, because that is a path to the disempowered remaining disempowered. Public higher education is a means of creating an equitable society. With knowledge comes power to create and connect, to question, to imagine, to execute a plan. It is the power to know others who can help. With those with education have more power to shape theirs and others' lives into the inclusive, thriving, more equal communities to which most of us aspire. I have long believed, and still do, in the truth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. What I had not really counted on, not as a K-12 teacher, not as a school board member, not as a professor, and not as a university leader, was the force of the counteraction to justice, the force of those who see social equity as a zero-sum game, the belief that if minoritized communities, if women, if transgender people have access to and are succeeding in what only a few used to have, it is scored as a loss for individuals and for society. As a society, we do not want to make this zero-sum claim out loud, for public education in America is a secular religion. In theory, and in law in K-12, everyone has the right to a free and equal basic education. That belief has been extended in the last 75 years to higher education as well. But it is not an accident that higher education, particularly public higher education, is being devalued and defunded just as more regular people aspire to attend. I'm proud to say that in Massachusetts we are trying to change that. What is so ironic is that we have spent the last 100 years encouraging people to have that aspiration. The history of the expansion of American higher education over the 20th century is an extraordinary one. Its story is now her story, and their story, and much more our story, as college institutions grew to be more than just for the privileged few. State land-grant institutions and urban city college systems were created and flourished and funded by their states, expanded opportunities for entry into the middle class to groups who never could have afforded college before. The GI Bill expanded those opportunities further through the infusions of federal cash, as did Cold War imperatives demanding greater and faster scientific development. Normal schools like Framingham State became state colleges, educating teachers and consumer scientists. For those of you new to FSU, the term normal school comes from the French École Normale, a 16th century teaching theory and practice in which classrooms were created to demonstrate model teaching practices to teacher candidates. It's a great idea. The social equity movements of the 1960s and 70s furthered this call, demanding that women and racially and ethnically oppressed students have equal access to and acceptance in higher education. The expansion of college education, Rick Perlstein wrote, became a genuine ornament of mass democracy. It made America more decent, more lovely, more cultured, and more critical. It made America richer too, both spiritually and materially, through an important sense of, though in an important sense, the first condition fed the second, as the liberation of the intellectual imaginations midwifed 1,000 productive careers in every field, careers that were productive precisely because they were inspired by a liberal arts attitude. But then the purpose of college pendulum began to swing, and we began to juxtapose liberal arts thinking and job training. As governor of California, Ronald Reagan was a leading indicator. He instituted tuition in the University of California system in 1970, famously asking why California taxpayers should be forced to, quote, subsidize intellectual curiosity, end quote. Subsidizing intellectual curiosity. What would Reagan have the public pay for? The job market. He and others made the claim that intellectual curiosity could be divorced from skill development. If the public was going to pay for people to go to college, he and others reasoned, the primary focus should be on creating a stronger capitalist economy. If the tide shifted so that public higher education was no longer about nurturing wide-ranging intellectual curiosity, if it no longer prioritized the tools of creative thought, of argument building, of perspective taking, of learning to research a claim, learning to write, and so on, then those in state government maybe could justify, at least partly, subsidizing students because they were training them for jobs that the market demanded, jobs that did not involve so much contrarian thought, or trouble, or ultimately, knowledge. When we start to limit who is allowed to know what we are really saying is that we are afraid of what will happen when those people previously denied begin to use their intellectual curiosity. Access to knowledge is denied precisely because it is so powerful. And it is this, I fear, I argue, that it is driving the current US higher education zeitgeist. We hide this fear of who is gaining power by questioning the value of the educational enterprise in the first place and by controlling access to knowledge. Many are afraid of the power unleashed by intellectual curiosity. They are threatened by ideas that explore new and different perspectives. They are intimidated by unfamiliar languages, lyrics, and conceptions of love and relationships. Curricular restrictions are under consideration in more than a dozen state legislatures, as communities look to limit diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts across the US. Every time they succeed, they restrict access to knowledge for those who cannot or choose not to afford private higher education. And this is why we are here at Framingham State University, because democratic higher education cannot die. Those people who come to college cannot be the people whose families can already afford it. We need to nurture every student's thinking and growth. We also need to have teachers, faculty members who come with multiple and varied perspectives. Those who create new knowledge, new understandings, new art, and new analyses cannot be the equivalent of the gentlemen scholars of the 19th century, those white, wealthy men with enough family income to nurture their own intellectual curiosity. We need faculty and staff from every perspective, every discipline, and every corner of the planet, so that they, in turn, can nurture students from every corner of the planet. And from the great diversity of students, faculty, and staff comes diverse and more equal communities that become more inclusive, thriving places to be. Communities like Framingham and Natick and Hudson and Westboro and Hyde Park and Nashua, New Hampshire and South Berwick, Maine. New England needs its public universities. It needs Framingham State University. Framingham State and its regional public sister institutions in Massachusetts and throughout New England need to thrive. We must thrive if we want our communities to do likewise. Successful democracies are bound collectively by social networks built on trust, shared stories, and strong institutions. We are entrusted with the education of our communities. If the communities we are designed to serve lose trust in our ability to help them gain the knowledge and skills they need to thrive, then our communities will decide they no longer need us. We must embrace the social trust on which our institution is built. Public institutions and public universities' institutional purposes are place-based and oriented towards serving multiple communities. The communities we serve now, not those we served 25 or 50 or 100 years ago. We serve first, second, and third generation strivers. We serve people new to the United States whose communities are not sure they are welcome on our hill or on Beacon Hill. We serve people who have been told too many times that they aren't college material, and people who are not sure they have the right to learn. We serve people whose families are not sure they can spare them from the fragile occupational network that comprises their means of support. We serve those who identify as Black and brown, those who learn differently from the norm. We offer everyone the opportunity to seize the power that comes from learning, from engaging with their intellectual curiosity, and from interacting with people who think differently from they do. We do this with creativity, passion, and strategy in spite of the serious challenges we have. We must provide hope to our communities to explain the process and pains of a changing higher education. It is up to us to help our communities understand what makes Framingham special. People have 300 plus educational institutions to choose from in New England. They judge educational worth too often on pre-existing prestige rather than the quality and fit of an education. Our continued success and growth to a greater version of FSU will come from being bold enough to create and market educational opportunities that few others offer, to nurture and support an exceptionally high quality of teaching fed by the scholarship and research of our faculty, to increasingly refine the services and programs that our students need, such as robust student support, career mentorship, and significant internship opportunities for all students, to value and develop professional growth opportunities for all who choose to work at FSU, and by building increasingly deep relationships with our Framingham, Metro West, and New England community partners, our nonprofit, corporate, and government allies, helping everyone see that fostering intellectual curiosity and knowledge development is in the interest of us all. Doing this will arise from courage to embrace the educational mission that is public universities alone, to serve the public good. We do not live in a community in isolated units. By working and serving with others, we nurture their faith in themselves and on humanity, helping us to imagine and create a better future, a more equitable future. Prioritizing the common good restores in our faith in the common good, and beautiful things grow as a result. I said it here on my very first day on the job, and I believe it now more than ever. Our future is extraordinary, Framingham State University. Let's go.
Nancy, President Niemi, thank you for your powerful and inspiring speech. Also, an additional special thank you to Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for joining us today, as well as Chancellor Esterberg and all of the delegates of the universities and colleges and everyone else who helped make this a truly memorable occasion. We will now conclude the ceremony with a performance of Framingham State University's alma mater, Live to the Truth, performed again by Haley Gerard. Following the performance, please remain seated to allow the platform party and delegates to exit the auditorium. Thank you. Haley.
Dear Framingham, thy children round thee gather, our vows of love to thee we pledge anew, unfailing font of hope and joy forever, we shall proclaim our homage to you. Through countless years, to all the fostering mother, thy suppliant power and hope and truth and true, thy bounteous love and joy. I'm so sorry. I got the verse mixed up. Thy bounteous power and love and joy forever will ever be. Live to the truth.